Family Matters premiered on ABC in 1989 as a spin-off from Perfect Strangers that nobody expected to last 9 seasons. A scrawny kid in suspenders showed up for what was supposed to be a single guest appearance, and "Did I do that?" became part of the American vocabulary overnight. Steve Urkel turned a family sitcom into a phenomenon that ran for 215 episodes and drew over 20 million viewers every Friday night. What happened to the cast after the final episode aired in 1998, and where did they end up in 2026? 12 years old and wearing his father's oversized glasses with pants hiked to his chest, Jaleel White walked into his audition and introduced himself as Steve, not Jaleel. One episode became television history, and here's something most fans never knew about that voice he created for Urkel. It actually damaged his vocal cords. The writers invented smooth alter ego Stefan Urquella, partly so White could speak normally and let his throat recover between tapings. 49 years old in 2026, White stays busier than ever. A marriage to sports executive Nicoletta Rule came in May 2024, followed by his memoir Growing Up Urkel that November, where he finally addressed that infamous quote about putting a bullet in his head if anyone saw him play Urkel again. Peace with the character came eventually. 7 episodes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew added to his resume, along with hosting duties on game show Flipside, which drew over 1 million viewers and earned a second season renewal. Purple Urkel, his cannabis line launched in 2021, proved the nerd had become an entrepreneur. Producers pitched a Fuller House-style reboot where Steve married Laura and raised a nerdy son, and White walked away from the table. His counterpitch involved a show about a 12-year-old actor landing the role of Urkel and struggling with fame, but nobody has made it yet. The most iconic TV nerd of the 90s now owns that legacy completely on his own terms. 215 episodes featured Reginald VelJohnson, making him the only cast member to appear in every single one. Sergeant Al Powell in Die Hard made him famous, the cop who talked Bruce Willis through Nakatomi Plaza over a radio, but Carl Winslow made him beloved by millions of families. 73 years old in 2026, VelJohnson competed on Dancing with the Stars Season 33 in September 2024 and finished in 10th place, then returned for the December 2025 holiday special. Progressive insurance commercials have featured him since 2023 as TV Dad, a gentle parody of Carl Winslow that proves his iconic status remains intact. Voice work on Invincible brought him back as Principal Winslow in a meta-tribute. Since the show's high school carries the name Reginald VelJohnson High School, personal life details stay private with no public marriage on record, but when the surviving cast reunites, the patriarch shows up to hold the family together exactly the way Carl did on screen. Jo Marie Payton created Family Matters, not just starred in it. Her character Harriette originated on Perfect Strangers. Audiences loved her enough that producers built an entire spin-off around her family, and the show was supposed to belong to her. Steve Urkel changed everything. Her star vehicle transformed into the Urkel Hour. Tensions reached a breaking point by Season 7, and she wanted out 2 years before she actually left. The move to CBS for Season 9 came with an exit clause she negotiated herself, half the season, and then freedom, which meant Judy Elder replaced her for the final 9 episodes. 75 years old in 2026, Payton celebrated her milestone birthday in August 2025 with 3 projects already completed that year. Sugar Mama on The Proud Family. Louder and Prouder remains her voice role, a character she originated in 2001 and continues playing decades later. Reunions with co-stars for photo shoots and holiday films happened over the years, despite the tensions that pushed her off the show. Time heals most wounds, even when the Urkel of it all never quite fades from memory. 13 years old when she became Laura Winslow, Kellie Shanygne Williams played the straight-A student and constant target of Steve Urkel's obsessive affection while America watched her grow up on screen. The finale brought Laura's engagement to Steve, a conclusion that would have seemed impossible back in Season 1. 49 years old in 2026, Williams focuses on family after marrying Hannibal Jackson in 2009 and having 2 children, Hannah and John. Hollywood got left behind deliberately so she could raise them. A stroke years earlier became public knowledge in 2022 when Williams shared her recovery story. describing how she had to relearn everyday tasks after the health crisis. But December 2025 brought a social media appearance that sparked reactions from fans who didn't recognize the 49-year-old Laura Winslow had become. The Kellie Williams program launched in 2006 as a nonprofit teaching inner-city youth television production, and a psychology degree from Howard University followed. November 2025 brought Welcome to the Family with Telma and Kellie, a podcast where she and Telma Hopkins rewatch every Family Matters episode and share behind-the-scenes stories with fans who grew up watching them. 13 years old playing Eddie Winslow, Darius McCrary became the teenage troublemaker who never quite stayed out of trouble on screen. Jazz and Transformers came after Family Matters ended, along with Saw 6 and a run as Malcolm Winters on The Young and the Restless. 2026 brought complications nobody wanted to see. Border Patrol arrested him at the U.S.-Mexico border on October 5th, 2025, on a felony warrant for over $75,000 in unpaid child support. His representative explained he had been in Tijuana helping build homes for the homeless and didn't know about the warrant. Court proceedings went sideways when McCrary initially represented himself, and the judge found him unable to understand the proceedings and appointed a public defender. Extradition to Michigan followed, where he pleaded no contest to 5 felony charges and walked out of jail on December 8th, 2025. February 9th, 2026 brings his sentencing date, with up to 4 years in prison on the table. Eddie Winslow was the kid who couldn't stay out of trouble, and life proved more complicated than any sitcom could capture. Motown backup work with the Four Tops and Marvin Gaye came before Family Matters, and that voice shouting, "Shut your mouth," on Isaac Hayes' theme from Shaft belongs to Telma Hopkins. 4 seasons as a regular playing Aunt Rachel ended when Getting By offered her a starring role, though recurring appearances brought her back later. 77 years old in 2026, Hopkins reunited with Bryton James on The Young and the Restless in 2021, playing opposite her former on-screen son Richie decades after their Family Matters days. Welcome to the Family launched in November 2025 as the rewatch podcast she co-hosts with Kellie Williams, and recent interviews captured her amazement at the show's staying power. "People still call me Aunt Rachel," she said, adding that the show plays somewhere every day and she has never known a time when it wasn't on the air. 10 years old playing Judy Winslow, the youngest Winslow child, Jaimee Foxworth walked upstairs in Season 4 and never came back down. No death scene, no written explanation, just vanishing while 5 more seasons went by without a single mention of her existence. 13 years old and fired, budget cuts and the Urkel shift left no room for her character. A difficult decade followed with a failed R&B group, adult films under the name Crave, substance abuse and depression consuming her young adult years. Motherhood in 2009 changed everything when sobriety finally took hold, and appearances on Celebrity Rehab and Oprah let her speak openly about her struggles. 46 years old in 2026, Foxworth maintains an active social media presence sharing updates about her son. Entertainment Weekly organized a Family Matters reunion in 2017, and Foxworth wasn't invited. "I wasn't even contacted," she said, learning about it from a text 2 days before release. Judy went upstairs and never came back, but Jaimee spent decades finding her way back down. 78 years old when Family Matters began, Rosetta LeNoire already had 6 decades of entertainment behind her, including a godfather named Bill Bojangles Robinson and an appearance in Orson Welles' all-black Macbeth from 1936. AMS Repertory Theater opened in 1968 under her leadership to promote diversity in casting. Mother Winslow became her most famous role, and President Clinton presented her with the National Medal of Arts in 1999. March 17, 2002 brought her death at age 90, with co-stars remembering her as their foundation. Cool and the gang founding member Dennis Thomas raised a daughter named Michelle, who played Myra Monkhouse for 5 seasons, the girl who loved Steve Urkel with the same intensity he showed toward Laura. August 1997 brought a rare abdominal cancer diagnosis when she was 28, a vegetarian who never smoked or drank. Cancer didn't care about any of that. December 23, 1998 ended her life at 30 years old, with Malcolm Jamal Warner, her former boyfriend from Cosby's Show days, sitting at her bedside. Jaleel White described her passing as the loss of his innocence, and the cast still honors her memory at reunions. 9 seasons and 215 episodes made Family Matters the third longest-running sitcom with a predominantly black cast in television history. November 2025 brought the Rewatch podcast from Telma Hopkins and Kellie Williams. VelJohnson still shows up for holiday specials, and Jaleel White finally wrote his memoir. Rosetta, LeNoire, and Michelle Thomas passed on years ago, and the thought remains that they're somewhere watching reruns, with Mother Winslow shaking her head at Steve's latest invention, while Myra still believes he'll come around. Family sticks with you, and the real ones stay long after the cameras stop rolling.